In this episode, I speak with Omari Hardwick all about his brand new film, Star Trek Section 31. Let's go!
Welcome to Pop Culture Weekly with Kyle McMahon from iHeartRadio. Your pop culture news, views, reviews, and celebrity interviews on all the movies, TV, music, and pop culture you crave weekly. Here's Kyle McMahon.
Nick. Hello and welcome to Pop Culture Weekly with Kyle McMahon. I, of course, am Kyle McMahon, and I thank you so much for hanging out with me for another episode of Pop Culture Weekly. This is a short episode. It's just an interview-only episode. We have another episode coming, next week, which will be back to the traditional length. We'll have Amanda come back on, and we'll be talking about, well, I can't tell you yet, so you don't know, but we'll be talking about something cool and have some interviews for you as well. This week, it is all about Omari Hardwick and his brand new Paramount Plus film, Star Trek Section 31. So, Star Trek Section 31 is the first Star Trek film since, 2016's Star Trek Beyond, which those three films are considered the reboot, but they're kind of subtitled the Kelvin timeline, which is a whole thing in the Star Trek universe. But this is not only the first Star Trek film in 9 years since Star Trek Beyond in 2016, it is the first Star Trek film that was not made exclusively for theaters. So Star Trek Section 31 is made exclusively for Paramount Plus, which is the home of all things Star Trek. Paramount Plus had announced back in April 2023 that Section 31 had been in a development as a series, as a spinoff from Star Trek Discovery, which is one of their Paramount Plus exclusive Star Trek series. Instead, they were going to move forward with a streaming event film with Michelle Yeoh attached to reprise her role as Philippa from Discovery in Star Trek Section 31. Of course, Michelle Yeoh is amazing, so I've got to ask Omari about her. But she plays the leader of the Terran Empire in the Mirror Universe who has traveled to the Prime Universe and joined Starfleet. And Omari stars as Alok, who is a Section 31 agent who is a strategic mastermind with some mental problems, and he wants her to pay for her past by joining his team for a covert mission. So basically, Section 31, which is the 14th film, by the way, in the Star Trek franchise. So Section 31 is basically a secret division of Starfleet, and they are tasked with protecting the United Federation of Planets, almost in kind of a whatever means, no questions asked, we'll look the other way kind of way. So it's a great film. If you're a Star Trek fan, you'll love it. Even if you're not a Star Trek fan and you just like, action and sci-fi, it really is a great movie to check out. So Omari kind of blew up as James St. Patrick, a.k.a. Ghost, in Power from Stars, who, of course, I interviewed much of the cast of that franchise, including 50 Cent. And he was in Army of the Dead from Zack Snyder, who has been on the show, and I love that movie. And he's been in a number of other things, including Kick-Ass, love that one, Spike Lee's Miracle at St. Anna, and Tyler Perry's For Colored Girls. He was also just nominated for a 2025 Grammy Award for Best Spoken Word Poetry Album for the album Concrete and Whiskey Act 2 Part 1, a Bourbon 30 series. So that's really cool. So let's just jump right into it. My interview with Omari Hardwick. So first of all, congratulations on the film. What's it like for you, in kind of this pre-release right now? It's in the can. It's almost out.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling more refreshed and more light than I perhaps was when first being granted the opportunity for us as a cast to watch it. When we were given the link, that explodes, of course, after a couple days. Yeah, I'm feeling lighter about it and more at that place where the seat that I want to sit in and I feel like I'm soon able to sit in is that of a fan, and being able to sit back and enjoy my castmates' work tonight and the premiere being tonight. And in the midst of press week, yeah, there becomes a moment where you're perhaps forgetting enough that you were such a part of it, and now you get to outside looking in, really enjoy all the parts of it and all the work that the crew did, all the different departments from costume to hair and makeup and lighting, director of photography, and what his team has brought to the table. Obviously, what the directors and the writer and the producers have equally brought.
I love that. And what got you? I mean, obviously you've been around a while in a number of great projects, but essentially you started out as an athlete.
Yes.
How did you get from an athlete to, starring in a Star Trek film?
Man, that's a great one, Kyle. I was a dude who, in the midst of, if sport one was soccer, Kyle, baseball came pretty quickly after. And then basketball was right after that. The family rule was 13 years old before football. Because I was more stocky in build than the elder brother, he did me a solid and said, I'm okay with me at 13 allowing Omari at 11 to play football. And so that was really cool. But in the same year, Kyle, at about 11 years of age, man, I found poetry. That was about the year that I wrote my first poem. And it was interesting because I didn't know that it was a poem. You think you're just writing an idea. And by first girlfriend, perhaps, that's a moment where I was like, oh, this is poetry. And I just really enjoyed those moments of watching everything from James Evans, and Florida Evans, played by Esther, and all that. And James Amos recently passed away, right? Rest in peace. And all that had to offer a story, but all the way over to Marlon Brando on the waterfront. And one of my pops' favorite was Cool Hand Luke, and what Paul Newman meant to my pops, a black man from Savannah, Georgia, who went to college in Boston. Pops and grandfathers were able to present a lot of diversity within their bag that God had gifted them with, Kyle, to the world. In a country that wasn't necessarily checking for a lot of what black men had to offer out of their grab bag of goodies. And so I found myself having permission really early in life to go, so why not be an athlete and also be a poet? And I like acting, and should I go that route? Get to University of Georgia and major in journalism, finish in the classroom in 4, but have a redshirt year to play one more year of football at University of Georgia, SEC football, as you know, no less. And I minored in theater. And, who would have thunk it that instead of tomatoes being thrown by teammates that are in the NFL, one of whom was Champ Bailey, not just in the NFL, one of whom was Terrell Davis, not just in the NFL equally, but both of them, as you know, are in the Hall of Fame. And all of them said, yo, if the football don't work out, bro, there's something with this theater thing. And that's how I kind of found my way to it. And in the midst of that, Kyle, I found music. And I was already musical. I already understood what Frankie Beverly meant when he said joy and pain. I kind of was like, oh, right, they go together. And bro, the best way to get down the field on kickoff coverage was to get down the field on a set called kickoff coverage as a character. And whatever character I was being asked to play, and the greatest of which is an industry that says, we want your joy and your pain. Thank you, film industry. I will bring both. And now, Kyle, I'm able to, which is hard for me, especially as a Capricorn, to boast about anything, but I'm able to boast the reality that I've now been, Grammy nominated in the world of music, which I haven't used to put food on the table. So God made me a bag of nuts, bro. And I just will always say God, because it can't, you know what I mean? I'm crazy disciplined, and I'll meet him halfway where I can while being super flawed and not the greatest of human being, but I'm doing okay at using all the shit that he put in my bag. I'm pretty
I
hard.
love that. I love that. And speaking of music, you have your latest single, DMX, right?
Yes, that was, it actually isn't my most recent single. We got other singles coming, but yes, it was one of the big singles. And it was myself and Guapale, who is from the Bay Area, the legendary dear heart of mine, who actually has found her way to stage. And she was in Sparkle with me, and a late, great legend of them all, and that being Whitney Houston. And in many ways, it pays homage to DMX and what his hook was. And y'all gonna make me lose my mind. And we just flipped it and made it more about the reality of love, and that, the love story is the greatest of story that makes you lose your mind. Falling in love will kill you or kill you softly. One of the two.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love how you are multifaceted. And as you said, all the way from the beginning, where you're doing poetry and theater and multiple sports. Here you are, we're talking about your single, we're talking about, a new film, and not just any film in the Star Trek universe, which to me is it's like this huge thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I appreciate that.
My parents, my grandparents, this is, a multi-generational thing. And here you are right at the front line of it.
Amazing. It's
I love that you are able to, put yourself in these various things. Why did you decide, I want to do Section 31?
I could piggyback off of what you do. And you're a journalist, Kyle, and you know that. And there's a lot of pundits, there's a lot of armchair quarterbacks, there's a lot of podcasters who don't necessarily know the art of journalism. As a black kid who loved Tom Brokaw. And I think what I love most about Tom Brokaw is that he was reporting on everything. And you're supposed to be unbiased. And you're supposed to make us believe that you are not leaning with your eyes to a direction in terms of the story you're telling. And I think one of the great things about Section 31 in Star Trek is that perhaps is the first role within my career that I got to be more so a journalist. I am sort of the narrator of what the universe was 350 years prior, because a lot comes from 350 years prior. And I now put this motley crew, ragtag group of individuals together, so to become a policing agent for all the decades and decades ahead for the galaxy, remaining the way that Roddenberry wanted the galaxy and galaxies plural of Star Trek to remain. And in many ways, when you think about it, that is me bringing finally my major to the forefront and being a journalist. Alok is simply a journalist. He's not necessarily actually driving the car at all points. He's bringing in different people and he's saying they will drive the story the way that I want the story driven. And if that's not necessarily the journalist on microphone like yourself, it absolutely is the program director saying, hey, make sure we cover this subject. Hey, make sure we talk about this. And so I think I just knew that I was a lot more than a journalist. But in many of these opportunities as an actor, I haven't been able to be Alok, who is reporting the nightly news and where we now stand as a society. And that's what made Star Trek so cool. It was a reporting from William Shatner's Captain Kirk. It was a reporting from Leonard Nimoy's Dr. Spock. They were reporting and then having to deal with the fallout of what didn't go down as to what they reported. And I think maybe this is the first time, bro, that I got to play that guy. I'm just at a desk like you, albeit me standing up and walking around, but I'm still reporting out on what should be. And this was a great opportunity to be just that.
I love that. With Michelle, to get to work with Michelle, what was that like?
Speak of reporting. I feel like there's those moments where you work with directors that you have on your bucket list. There's those moments you work with actors that or whom you have on your bucket list, and you still are negotiating after working with them when your family says the same thing, which is, man, you got to work with Michelle. There's moments where you're left because you're so in awe of the people you've worked with, where you're able to almost beg the question by asking it back. Did I work with them? So Michelle might have been, I'm aware that I worked with Kevin Costner early in my career. The hug was beautiful at Whitney's funeral. Because you can Google it, that he was the one asked to eulogize Whitney. Crazy. Obviously other people spoke, but makes sense. After I came off the set of The Guardian and learned who Kevin was as a person, whose father was a pastor of an all-black church in Compton, where Kendrick Lamar, speaking of music, comes from. But yet one of my first castmates, the incomparable Kevin Costner, grew up in a church that, looking left and right, did not have people who looked like him. Once I met him on set, I was like, man, the actor really is not that far from how great he or she are next to you as person. Michelle is right there. Michelle is someone who, when you look at the Oscar back, and honestly as well, Kyle, when you look at the Oscar forward, Wicked included, you go, fuck it, Wicked. Because it matches how wicked she is as a person, and the greatest of connotation of the word wicked. She's just wickedly good, wickedly big, and wickedly surprising. I could never predict all the colors she was going to bring, but now that I know her, man, I would just say to everybody who gets an opportunity to work with her, who have not yet, you are in for some kind of treat when working with her. She is creme de la creme.
I love that. And the relationship of you two and the chemistry of you two is such a joy to watch as a viewer.
I'm glad you felt
shows.
I appreciate that.
So do you, hope for more? Can we expect more stories with Section 31 in the future?
Man, I hope it. I really do. I felt this prior, Kyle, with Army of the Dead. Zack Snyder is such a friend of mine and such a comrade, and it's an every other week checking on each other reality, obviously with the forest fires that extended beyond forest and climbed up hills and went into environments or neighborhoods in which I equally lived, one being Pasadena, Altadena area, and all that Los Angeles is having to heal from. I most recently checked on him, again, for obvious reasons because of the LA fires, but that lit a fire under me doing Army of the Dead, and it made me go, okay, next, more. And whether that happens or not, it's cool to get another potential franchise that allows me to go, knock, knock, and for Tundi or Alex Kurtzman, not in that order, Alex Kurtzman, Olatundi in that order, to go, who's there? And I go, me, Alok or Omari, both. When do we go again? I'm ready to rock. Like, it's cool, man. Put me back in, coach. I've been ready to play.
Absolutely. Omari, thank you so much. It's really to talk to you, man. You're just an amazing soul. And I can't wait for everybody to see Star Trek Section 31.
Thank you, Cal. Very humble to talk to you, brother. Very smooth.
Thank you very much, man. Have a great day.
You too.
Omari Hardwick. Great guy. Such a good guy. I can't emphasize that enough. Just such a pleasure to talk to. I'm sure you saw it by listening. You can watch the interview up on the YouTube channel at Pop Culture Weekly on YouTube. Let me know what you think about that. And we started a YouTube Shorts channel, Pop Culture Minute. So head on over there after you subscribe to the Pop Culture Weekly YouTube channel. Head on over to Pop Culture Minute on YouTube. You can get the daily minute shorts, Monday through Friday mostly. We're not going to say Monday through, about 4 or 5 days a week, where I post a short on the Pop Culture Minute channel. Let me know when you subscribe there, comment on one of the videos that you came from the podcast, and let's start a conversation on all things movies and music and TV and streaming and everything else. And let me know what you think about Section 31. I'm going to start highlighting some viewer and listener and reader comments. So start sending them in on the show, on stuff that we're talking about, and you may just be featured on Pop Culture Weekly yourself. All right. Until next episode, I'll see you then. I love you. We out.
Thank you for listening to Pop Culture Weekly. Hear all the latest at popcultureweekly.com.
Star Trek, Section 31. Star Trek, Section 31. Star Trek, Section 31. Yeah. Star Trek, Star Trek.